Like Purdue, it's just an example. Purdue losing to Fresno State is okay. We still win the Big Ten West. But me,
Billy Napier gets fired. I'm just kidding.
hey, really the best time of the year. I will be seated watching the Red Zone for 7 hours on Sunday. What's going on, everyone? And welcome back to a new episode of Backyard Banter. Before anyone does anything, I was provided with an interesting stat today. 82% of people that watch the podcast is not subscribed. So if you're one of those people,
that's just too bad.
Too bad. Hit the subscribe button. It really helps us out more.
Mentally.
Physically, emotionally.
Be locked in.
Bro, be locked in. But back to the regular schedule programming. Tanner, James, Johnny, another epic weekend of college football, World Series, NFL, NBA, NHL, Premier League probably. Actually, no, they're not playing right now. But just again,
Liverpool played this weekend actually. But
one of the best weekends of the year. I want to start with Oregon, Utah.
Yeah.
Just I said it on the pod last week. I think Oregon's just kind of at a different level, and Utah's couldn't continue winning with that kind of quarterback play, and it proved it. Barnes, 15-29, 2 interceptions, not good enough. 35-6, Oregon won. Tanner, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Bo Nix, man, like 250 total yards, 3 touchdowns.
So good. But he broke the all-time starts record.
Yeah,
55. By the way, 55 total. Yeah. So as
Chris Fowler said, 40 years old, man.
We're so
y'all better
we are
stop
so
that.
locked.
They rehearsed that. They rehearsed that before.
No, we did not. But no, Oregon, man, they look really good. Like, this is a team that you want to see. You want to see in the Pac-12 championship. You want to see them in the playoff.
Yeah.
They're that good.
They're just good.
I mean,
they're a top 3. In my opinion, they're a top 3 football team. They are so. And it's literally just that one number in the loss column because they played a tough team and they got the best out of Washington. But God, Oregon is so good.
Yeah, I mean that game wasn't really competitive.
No, it never was.
And it's just tough.
And to go into Utah. And
we talked about
and do that. That's a tough environment to play.
That's the first time Utah lost at home with a full crowd in 4 years.
26 games or something.
Yeah,
it was a great game. Oregon, man, I love them. I cannot wait. I hope they get to that Pac-12 championship and they win it because for college football they need to be in the college football playoff.
Also, I mean the Pac-12 might not be as deep as we originally thought.
Yeah.
Shout out, man. Tanner was 100% on with Arizona. Beat Oregon State, just huge. We'll get into that more later.
Did you see the last play of the half in the first half of that
fake
game?
field goal. Maybe we'll put the clip up here.
Pretty sick.
The fake field goal that Oregon State tried, 35 yards out.
Snap's good, hold, and it's a fake! And he's brought down inside the 10.
But no time. I don't get it.
Anyway, we're rambling here. But yeah, just domination by Oregon. And shout out Dan Lanning too, the Oregon head coach. Younger guy, really. This is kind of new age now where coordinators are getting their first shots at big time programs. Kirby Smart was like that with Oregon. Dan Lanning was like that. Ironically, both Alabama defense coordinators was like that with Oregon. And for him to keep his team mellow, go into just an incredibly hostile environment and just take care of business. They didn't even really break a sweat.
I love seeing the transition because with college football, like for example, like these guys that are coordinators, OCs at these big schools, right? They're going to take a big head coaching job. They might even go to the league. Like who knows? I think football is one of the most entertaining sports to watch in terms of coaching changes and situations because I love it, right? I absolutely love when an offensive coordinator for Bama goes and coaches in the NFL. I absolutely love it. You know why? Because they're the best in the world. Right, and now their talents are being seen. You don't see that very often in the NBA and the MLB. Obviously, it's just such a huge league. But I don't know. You guys want to get into our top 10 or?
I'm ready. I'm not even remotely ready.
You know,
I want to talk about Florida.
You got a game to talk about. I was gonna say when you walked in, you had the audacity to wear that.
I stay repping. So
let's go.
I've always been a very realistic Florida fan. So first, shout out. I know my Dash fraternity brothers are watching. Shout out all the Pike boys, but Florida, I thought they would cover, obviously, but just being physically dominated on the offensive line and defensive line. James, you have the stats right there. Read them. I also have the stats, but you read them.
Georgia, 4 sacks, 8 tackles for losses in the whole game. Florida, not 1 sack. and only 4 tackles for
Carson Beck could have made breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then proceed to still throw for 318.
There's no pressure.
I think 2 of those 4 TFLs for Florida came on that goal line stand to begin the game.
I think they were. Yeah, I think they were.
It's just a lot of...
Because honestly, when I saw the 4, I was like, they had 4? Like, I was like, what?
Yeah. We've talked about it. Florida's a young team. Besides Ricky Pearsall, they don't have a single senior that starts. And a lot of their defensive linemen are freshmen and sophomores. And they're just not at the level that Georgia's
They're big,
at.
but they're not as skilled.
Yeah, they're not as skilled. Trust me, Desmond Watson.
Yeah,
plenty big enough.
Big dude.
We talked about it on the preview. Florida had to win the turnover battle and maybe even get a special teams touchdown. Not only do they not do that, they failed at it miserably. In my opinion, it's okay if you turn the ball over in certain situations. Yeah. One of those situations is not within your own 25-yard line on a strip fumble. Going for it on the 4th down, it's fine, right? Big game, you want to go for it. I'm fine with the 4th down call, but just run the ball. You don't need the trickery stuff, right? And I'm going to give you guys some stats. The first quarter and the 4th quarter, if just those 2 quarters were played, Florida won the game. Georgia outscored them in the 2nd and 3rd quarter 26-0.
Yeah, that's bad.
And it went on fast.
Yeah.
You can't have a punt block for a safety against Georgia. Cannot happen.
Yeah.
You can't have a turnover within your own 25-yard line against Georgia. Cannot happen. And you cannot go for it. You can go for it, but you have to get it inside your own 30-yard line. By the way, the spot on that ball, terrible mark, really bad.
Yeah, terrible.
And if you would have told me that Florida, if you take out the sack yardage, ran for 141 yards, I'd be like, okay, Georgia only ran for 170. I'd be like, okay, something happened.
Yeah.
If you told me Mertz went 25 of 34 with 230 and 2 touchdowns, no picks, I said, okay.
The box score doesn't look bad until you look on the defensive
plays.
stats.
There was an 11-minute game time period where the game just completely flipped. And shout out to Georgia, man. They turned it on to that level that we've talked about. It's a big game. But, yeah, I always said this Florida team is a 7-win team. And they have an opportunity to go in 7 games. It's just,
I'm excited for your sake because I've watched more Florida football this year than I ever have.
Yeah.
And it's because of the SEC, right? The SEC culture is just different. It makes you want to tune in.
Yeah.
But I'm excited because you guys are young.
Yeah,
right?
I'm still all in with Napier. Trey Wilson, number 3, you can just see it. Kind of 18 years old, has that kind of it factor. But that's more than enough Florida talk. We can get right into our top 10.
You don't want to talk about Purdue?
I didn't even
Cornhuskers.
I didn't even watch.
He watched basketball.
He watched them play basketball.
All right, let's get on the top 10. Tanner, you go first.
I got at my number 10. I have an SEC team with 1 loss. That only loss was LSU. I got the Missouri Tigers at number 10.
Yeah.
They have a massive game this week, fellas.
Georgia.
They play Georgia.
At Georgia, right?
It's at Georgia. But I think Missouri
played them hard last year.
They played them hard last year.
Really hard.
They almost beat them. They almost won the game.
Yeah.
They throw the ball around the yard. That is, in my opinion, the game of the week in college football. But there's another big SEC game coming up.
Yep.
At number 9, I got Ole Miss. Their first appearance in my top 10. And at 8 is the other big game in college football this week. Bama. They play LSU. LSU's in my honorable mention for my top 10. They're probably my number 11 team right now, but I got Bama at 8.
There we go. I'll get in. Notre Dame sneaks back in the top 10 for me. This could be biased. I think Klatt had it. I think Klatt has him at 10 too. Shout out to Mr. Klatt.
He gets too many mentions on our podcast.
Because he's a dog.
He's the best color commentator in college football.
And he's a dog.
Not even close.
Yeah, so
it's not.
I got Notre Dame at 10. The schedule, as a Notre Dame fan, this could be my 20-second spiel on Notre Dame. Their schedule isn't as good as I wanted it to be, right? With Clemson not being as good as people had imagined. A 2-loss team, whatever. But I tell you what, things are just going to shake up. They're AP 12, right? So me having them at 10 isn't that crazy. First of all, I just really like how their offenses work. I mean, Sam Hartman's not even playing great football yet, and we're still scoring 50 points. So our defense, in my opinion, is still top 3 defense in the country. And super excited to see the future of this Notre Dame team under Marcus Freeman. So they sneak in at number 10. Oklahoma stays in my top 10.
You can miss me with that.
Yeah,
they stay in my top 10 because of the fact that I'm not going to put an Ole Miss or a Mizzou above them,
I agree
and they're my 11 and 12, right?
Yeah.
The reason I'm not putting them in front of Oklahoma is because I just think Oklahoma, like, Mizzou hasn't played a phenomenal schedule, and they have the same amount of losses. Kansas isn't that terrible of a team.
No.
And that's why Oklahoma State's at 9 and I have Bama at 8 as well. Super excited to watch this game this week.
It's the fact for Oklahoma that they had 2 close calls in a row.
Yeah.
It's you can have the one.
Against
Just like
UCF,
Florida State against Boston College had the one. And
It's
then
scary.
from there on, they've really dominated.
Yeah.
And for me, again, it's the same thing with Washington beating Oregon and Oklahoma beating Texas. If those two teams played again right now, I'd pick Texas and Oregon on a neutral field. But anyway, at 10, I have Penn State. I'm not going to kill you for your only loss being at Ohio State, and they struggled mightily against Indiana. Not a very good look. But again, your only loss being at Ohio State, you still have a top 10 defense in the country. I'll take it. 9, I also have Ole Miss, kind of the same SEC thing James was talking about. I've watched a lot of Ole Miss, and beating LSU at home, which LSU, Jaden Daniels might be the best quarterback in the country. And 8, again, I have Bama. We'll see. I mean, this is the game. This is the game. If LSU wins this game, they control their own destiny in the West. So this is the game. And I'll go straight down. 7, I have Texas. Again, everyone thought, upset alert. Malik Murphy did his thing. Texas won comfortably. 6, the only reason why I have Washington at 5 and Oregon at 6 is the fact that they beat each other.
Yep.
That Washington beat Oregon. Oregon is a team that I had in my playoff preseason, and I think could very well get there. 5, Washington, another uninspired performance over the weekend against Stanford. They needed Stanford to drop a ball on 4th down for them to win. It's just not. Michael Penix, he's been doing fine, but the rest of the team really needs to step it up.
Yeah, mine's the exact same. And again, what's really cool about like this 8-7, 6-5 is they're all teams that played each other, and the team above. Like I want to put Oregon. You know what? Oregon's better than Washington, and I will say that until the cows come home. Right? They are so much better than Washington, but because they have the head-to-head matchup, you have to put them ahead of Oregon.
Right.
And that's the same with Texas right?
And Bama,
And that's the exact same thing. I think Bama's a better football team than Texas, especially with what's going on in Texas in terms of injuries and everything. And Oregon's much better than Washington, but they're two teams that perform. They beat each other, so that's why 7 Texas, Oregon 6, Washington 5.
I have the same 7-6-5 as you guys.
We're so
We're locked in.
Incredible.
We're locked in today.
Yeah.
Just to point out, Texas has a very, very sneaky matchup this week. They play Kansas State.
Kansas State has been really playing well.
And Washington as well plays USC this week.
Miss me with USC. They
So,
freaking suck.
I'm not saying,
but I agree,
USC
but
can
miss
beat
me
them.
with Washington.
They can't.
You know what I mean? Like,
no, I agree. I'm just messing.
So, getting into my top 4, I got Florida State at 4. Man, this is like, it seems like it's criminal to have them at 4. Like, Michigan, my 3, is better than Florida State. Ohio State, my 2, is better than Michigan. And I finally have Georgia at 1. I think I've been impressed with Georgia. It was hard for me to put them ahead of Ohio State because I think Ohio State does have 2 better wins.
Sure.
But Georgia's the best team in the country. They are on a massive winning streak that has spanned across 3 seasons now.
Regular season wins across 3 seasons.
Yeah. I mean, it is incredible what they are doing. It is remarkable.
So I have Florida State on 4. Again, it's just kind of crazy, right? They've had some crazy big wins. Ohio State at 3. I have some. I've got some movement in my 1 and 2. So the week you hop on in Georgia, they're at my 2. And I have Michigan at 1. Michigan, although they did not play this week, they jumped up. They jumped up my rankings, and I'll tell you exactly why. Georgia hasn't played a football game this year where they've played 4 good quarters of football. Michigan hasn't played 1 bad quarter of football this year. Okay? Their schedules are completely different, and I know that, right? But Michigan hasn't faltered 1 bit. Okay? I didn't get to watch them this week, but I don't care who they were going to play. They were going to win. Georgia, great win against Florida. It's a huge win, right? But they only played 2 good quarters, like Johnny said. There was a tail there where Florida was really in that football game.
The first 5 minutes.
The reason I think Georgia is still good enough to win a national championship. I just worry that when they play a team like Michigan, they're not going to be able to play 4 good quarters, whereas Michigan's able to play 4 good quarters. That's why Michigan is my number 1 team.
I have a point on Michigan here that I just have to put out there, right? We don't know what's going to happen with this NCAA thing, but
Last dance.
all I'm going to say is if they do get wins or votes,
Oh my God.
Guess who the 2022 Big Ten champions are in football?
7-5 Purdue.
Purdue is.
8-6 Purdue.
Here's the thing. And nothing's gonna happen.
Hang the banner.
Nothing's gonna happen to him though.
We're not
And you know what? That's fine. Hang that banner, because you know what? You would become even more of a laughing stock.
You'll be
in the
like
Big
UCF.
Ten.
That's worse
So,
than UCF.
so you do you. If you want to hang that banner, you hang that
They
banner.
cheated.
You hang that banner.
4, I have Florida State. Again, went into Wake Forest, took care of business. 3, Ohio State. They went into a very hostile environment and weren't really phased. I know that game was tied for a little bit, but weren't really phased. 2, Michigan, 1, Georgia. Until Georgia loses in the regular season, they will be 1. I understand James's point's a very valid point, but until they lose out, they will be 1.
And I say that too. I keep Georgia at 1, and I keep saying if you don't lose. But again, this is just. I've been high on Michigan this entire season.
You have a very valid take.
And yeah, I hope they play each other.
Yeah.
I mean, I really do.
Look, I want to talk about North Carolina. The fall from grace
my goodness.
North Carolina had. Losing to Georgia Tech and Virginia at home.
What's going on?
Really bad.
2 of the worst teams in college football.
Yeah, not just ACC. It's bad. Granted, Virginia took Miami to overtime. Bad, not a very good look. Or maybe Virginia's just turning around.
Maybe.
Florida beat Virginia in the Orange Bowl in 2019. So let's not.
Hey.
But yeah, just really not good. Not a good look on Drake May, Mac Brown, anyone in that.
No.
Yeah.
I have a quick thing about Georgia Tech. So they have won every other game on their schedule.
I saw that.
And it is lined up. If you know, I love my trends now.
Uh-huh.
If it sticks that way, they would beat Georgia the final.
That's awesome.
Who would?
So Georgia Tech, they lost week 1, won week 2, and then they lost and then won, and then lost and then won, and then lost and then won.
Georgia Tech plays Georgia in the last week.
They play every year.
They play every year.
You're such a casual.
So
Such a
if that
casual.
trend continues,
I mean, I understand it's rivalry week, but Georgia Tech?
Every
Come
year
on,
for
come
like
on,
100 years.
come on.
just watch out. Just watch
Come
out.
on.
All right, let's get into NFL. The 49ers, man, fall from grace. Everyone is ready to get up and crucify Brock Purdy. I've said it from kind of day one. He was never an MVP type quarterback. He's the last pick in the draft for a reason.
Yeah.
Let's not, guys, it's okay. He's a
It's
top
so
12
funny.
quarterback.
I love
People
it.
are crucifying him, and it's like, what do you want him to do? Be Joe Burrow?
Right. They're like he's showing his true colors.
I mean, he was a 200.
He was never
pick in the
elite.
draft.
He was never elite.
I mean, top 12, so he's at upper echelon. But I said that you guys were so off the Bengals when they started 1-3 years. Like, this year's different than last year. I said I'm staying put with my boys, even though I don't even associate with the Bengals. Joe Burrow is just too good. Jamar Chase too good, and I mean they're starting to show it, man. Same thing as last year.
I think we all were nervous, right? We were like, can the Niners really lose 3?
Yeah.
Could that happen? But then we were all like, man, you give Joe Burrow another week to get healthy and figure it out. And next thing you know, Joe Burrow's back to the guy that deserved a $55 million a year contract.
He was awesome. Highest completion percentage, 85.2%.
He was fantastic. Kind of a boring football game, honestly, because of how dominant the Bengals played.
No game that Jim Nantz is calling is boring.
That's fair enough.
That's my guy.
That is fair enough.
I mean, what a crazy week in the NFL. Just parity everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh,
how about if I told
Panthers
you
get a
in
W?
week, oh yeah, that was awesome. Shout out to the Panthers. How about if I told you in week 8 that the Seahawks are first place in NFC West? Awesome. We love it, man. 5-2 Seahawks. How about Will Levis? Come on.
Yes.
He eats mayo in his coffee. His girlfriend broke up with him. Throws for 4 tutties.
Yeah.
Dude,
Awesome.
he's got that X factor now.
Yeah, he's.
He's
What do
like,
do the Titans? What do they do with Ryan Tannehill? We got the trade deadline tomorrow.
Good.
You trade him to Minnesota.
For a 7th round pick, I'm not touching Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill seems like a great guy. He went to Texas A&M. That was cool.
If I'm the Vikings, I go after Ryan Tannehill.
Because they're 4-4 now.
Bro, I was about to say, I have the Vikings on here. I have Kirk Cousins with a sad face next to him. Because, it sucks, man. Kirk Cousins is just one of the best people.
100%. He's a great guy to have in the league.
And
Great guy.
It's just it's
Great
tough
guy.
to see.
Played
man.
at Chicago Golf this summer.
Did he?
Yeah.
Did you get to meet him?
I did not, but I walked right by him.
That's electric.
So you breathed his air.
Yeah.
Just big time. And then the Cowboys, man. Just freaking.
I picked up Dak this week in fantasy.
33 points.
What an animal, right? What an animal.
It's so weird. I think they said the Cowboys had either won every game by 20 plus or lost every game.
But you know what? I'm also going to pick you
What
this
parody?
I'm going to go and talk about the Rams for just 10 seconds.
Yeah, bad. Do they trade Aaron Donald?
Here's
Yes, you traded.
100%. That's one thing. Second of all, we'll bring up Jackson again. Trying to put
Matthew Stafford above Josh Allen
is
Never.
absurd. Absurd. Matthew Stafford was
very
great.
good.
He won a Super Bowl.
He's still good.
Right? But Dude, and not in a league like we have nowadays, he's not a top 5 quarterback, and you definitely can't put him above Josh Allen. So you can miss me with that once again. But yeah, Dak Prescott looked like he has before. And you know what? When I was thinking about it, when I was watching this game, I was sitting there and I was like, Dak Prescott could be an elite quarterback.
He just really want to be.
He just. There's just one game every year, or he gets hurt, right? Then he's just he looks inept. He doesn't even know how to play football. Yeah. But this Sunday, he looked great. And for the Cowboys' sake,
we'll see. They play the Eagles this week.
It's great, right? And we thought injuries faltered them when they lost Diggs, but they look great.
Tanner, how's your number 5 team in the NFL?
So
how are the Steelers?
I wanted to get into the Steelers. Tough loss for them. Kenny Pickett goes down.
Wouldn't have mattered.
Mitch Trubisky comes in.
Definitely didn't make things
I
happen.
definitely put on my Mitch Trubisky jersey once he got in the game.
You need to stop buying Bears jerseys. Justin Fields, Mr. Trubisky, they all suck.
I wouldn't say that about Fields yet, but I don't know. That's a completely different thing. But do you guys want to react to my top 5 again?
Sure.
Oh, is it anything crazy?
I don't think so. Here's my teams on the outside looking in. I got the Lions, Seahawks, and Bengals outside looking in.
Okay.
At 5, I got the Cowboys.
Okay, that's fine.
At 4, I got the Jags.
Okay, that's fine.
At 3, I got the Chiefs. At 2, I got the Ravens. And at 1, I have the Eagles.
I would still have the 49ers in the
I would still have him.
tier.
I would have him in the top 5.
I don't know about the top 5.
I would have him over the Jaguars. I really would.
Yeah, I think they play on Field. But then the last 3 weeks, if this is a week-by-week thing, then I don't think there's anything wrong.
I'm not nervous about this Chiefs loss.
Neither am I.
When you lose to a team that bad,
yeah.
and that's the thing about the NFL, right? When you lose to a team that bad, you know it's a fluke.
It's just
right?
not a good
fluke.
look when the Dolphins put up 70 and they couldn't even score a touchdown.
Oh, I know. I picked up Patrick Mahomes on fantasy because I'm like,
he was available.
No, sorry, in our draft.
Oh yeah,
he definitely was not available in our league. But I drafted him like, oh yeah, Broncos.
Yeah,
but did you see the pictures of the in stadium? When you watched the game, you were like, oh, it's fine, it's not snowing. And I was looking on TikTok, people were literally, their knees were up to their chins because there was 8 inches of snow on their seats.
Cheering on
you look
Russell
in the field
Wilson.
and it's completely bare.
So gritty.
So shout out to Denver, man. They know how to take that snow off the field. But
talk about the Bears. Get it out of the way.
I wasn't gonna say too much other than the coaching staff still sucks.
God, it's so bad.
How they have could you imagine so we're in college, right? If you had an F in every class, there's no way a school would let you just keep. I mean, maybe because of the money, but there's no way a school would let you just keep enrolling if you had an F.
No, you
in every class.
you could have talked to it.
Matt Eberflus has an F for 2 years. Luke Getsy has an F for 2 years. They are failing in every possible way. But besides that point, I love Tyson Bagent. He's going to be. Hopefully the Bears backup for a long time. But the conversation of him being better than Fields or Fields needs to learn from him is just absurd to me.
Here's the thing.
It is
I want to talk about Justin for 10 seconds, and I hate talking about Justin Fields, so I'm going to do it really quickly. If I'm Justin Fields and I'm in his shoes, which will never happen because Lord knows he's a much better athlete than I am or ever was, I would go to Ryan Poles and I'd say, hey, I can't succeed under these coaches. Yeah. I'd do it.
He can't.
Right? And at that point, then Ryan Poles has to make a decision. Do I trade Justin Fields, cut him? They won't cut him. Do I completely get rid of Justin Fields as a thought in my mind and I'm set ahead on this draft? Or do I say, okay, I'm going to fire everyone on the coaching staff? Because you could do that tomorrow.
I do both. I'm going to keep it a buck.
But here's the thing. Again, I've said it till forever. Justin Fields being a Bear for the next 3 years is a good thing if he's proven that he can be elite, because then you set yourself up with drafts, right?
Hopefully you can be back. Do you guys have a bye, or are you?
Our bye's not till late.
No, we play Sunday and then Thursday and then Sunday and then I think our bye maybe.
Well, hopefully you can get back.
Justin Fields needs to be back on Sunday because
they said he's not.
Really?
He's out Sunday.
Here's the thing. He's got to. Just kidding. He's got to go and earn a spot on the Bears roster, not just this season, but the future. Because you know what? I'm with you, Tyson Bagent. He's not elite. He's not elite.
He's the second coming.
I said he might be the next coming of Jesus. Who knows? All I know is he makes plays that Justin Fields has never played. I will say that. Sometimes Bagent will scramble and Cole Kmet will be on the trail. Justin Fields would tuck it and run. And Bagent was kind of dishing that pass out because he's lost not as athletic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I tell you what, me and Tanner watched the Bears game last night.
Yeah.
It's just so hard to be the Bears fan.
Like what?
It's just like like
both of our
we were
teams,
making fun of just like it's the third quarter, we got a turnover, we're so back, even though we know we're not going to score.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my take on Fields here, like in the coaching staff, is he called out the coaching staff in the press conference, like after week 3,
3 weeks ago,
and like he should, right? But immediately he has to go apologize for it. I don't blame Justin Fields. Like they're setting him up for failure, and like I'm sorry, Justin Fields should be a Chicago Bear after this season.
If he proves himself.
You can argue he hasn't proven himself. But what has he had around him to help? Help
we
him?
can't get into this because we don't have time. But no matter what happens, elite quarterbacks find a way to win. You're telling me that Aaron Rodgers, when he was killing everybody, that Jordy Nelson was
2 years ago, or 2020 when they were the 1 seed, the Packers.
Yeah.
Who was their best receiver? Alan Lazard.
Devontae Adams.
Oh, I completely forgot. My bad.
That wasn't the best. That wasn't the best comparison.
Yeah, no, my bad.
But you can even look at other teams. Like, dude, he doesn't have elite around him, but he has enough to win football games, and that's what elite quarterbacks do. When you have a draft this year that is full of elite talent, you gotta bite the bullet. I'm telling you, I'm all for Justin Fields if he comes back and proves himself and can win some football games. Because if he doesn't play Sunday, fine. If we go and lose to the Panthers on Thursday night with Justin Fields as our quarterback,
yeah,
it's rough.
Oh no, I'm gonna close it on this. We're done with the Bears after this, but
thank God.
I'm not arguing that the talent around him on this offense isn't enough. I'm saying the coaching staff is just so incompetent that it doesn't matter. Like they are hurting him a ton.
It's fair.
All right, we're gonna get into MLB. What a game 1. First of all. Just electric. Inject Corey Seager into my veins.
No kidding.
Just awesome.
No kidding.
Man. We'll put the clip of his game-tying 2-run home run in the 9th inning right here. But, I mean, the Diamondbacks, man, you take away one blown save, they've really dominated the series.
Yeah, they look great.
Game 3 is tonight, so as this comes out, you'll know what team has a 2-1 lead. But it's just domination.
It's shaping up for a great World Series, which is what we all wanted. What we all wanted. But I tell you what, when you watch when you just watch Game 1, you're like, oh man, the Rangers, they got no chance, right? And then that inning, like you walk the leadoff guy, right? And you're like, oh, okay, you give this lineup an opportunity, and then Corey Seager is just
electric,
just a dog, and then the Diamondbacks just took care of business in Game 2.
The Rangers have not lost an away game this postseason.
That is incredible.
Throw that out there. Of course, they're probably going to lose tonight.
Yeah.
I said that. But they're not 8 or 9-0 in the postseason on the road. And it's like, okay, now it's the best of 5. Scherzer's going tonight. And again, I feel like I still trust the Rangers lineup. Jordan Montgomery was due for a bad start, and they gave him, he provided one. But again, I still like the depth of the Rangers pitching. Eovaldi gets to go again. He'll be better. Montgomery gets to go again.
Yeah,
and
that's exciting.
I just hope Scherzer has a bounce back.
It's exciting for the Rangers.
I'm very intrigued for tonight's game because they just announced the pitching matchups in Game 4, and I think both teams are going with a bullpen day. Game 4. So if you're Arizona, you gotta get 2 to 3 at home, right? Like
gotta get 2.
You don't want to go back to Texas down 3-2. Granted, you did that in the NLCS, but I interested to see what happens for sure. Games 3 through 5 in Arizona is going to be fun to watch. They're going to be big games, as always.
They'll be rocking in the desert, man.
Yes, they are. Good for them, man. Good for them. But
shout out Corbin Carroll, by the way.
Yeah.
Just a dog.
What a top 10 player in the league.
Unbelievable.
Diamondbacks play small ball baseball. They bunted 3 times. They've stolen, I think, 10 bases so far around there. It's small ball baseball. Shout out, I forgot their manager's name, but he's just...
I can picture his face.
Yeah, me too. The gray beard. But anyway.
He looks like a dog.
He's a dog. Hey, they're playing small ball baseball, and they're winning. They're putting their team in the best position to succeed. I mean, Evan Longoria bunted for the first time since 2014 when he was with the Rays. Like, shout out Longo.
I have a point on the World Series. So, I don't hate Joe Davis, but the World Series is not the same without Joe Buck. Whether or not you like Joe Buck as an announcer,
I can't stand Joe Buck, but I'm totally with you.
For me,
I've always loved Joe Buck.
World Series baseball is Joe Buck and John Schultz.
Joe Davis is really good.
Still very good.
He went to Beloit.
Yeah.
He's a small D3 guy like us.
Yeah.
Really, I love Joe Davis.
But
maybe that'll be us.
Again, I agree with you. That it's just a certain. It would be like when they take Mike Breen off the finals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just won't be the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, should we get right into legendary and shambles?
We shall.
I want to go first because I think Tanner's gonna steal mine. My legendary is AJ Brown. Set a record for 125-yard plus games ever. I think he's at 6 straight. I mean, yeah, we'll put the clip of his one-handed touchdown that he had right here. But
Hey,
That was it. That was AJ Brown.
That was the first overall pick in our draft last Thursday.
I mean, just really a difference maker. We talk about those people that just look different. He looks different. You know what the Titans got for him? I already forgot, the Arkansas wide receiver. He wears number 18, but that's what the Titans got, not AJ Brown. And it's just really a value on them. And the Eagles, man, they survived a scare against Washington, but AJ Brown is just what a difference maker.
Yeah. My legendary, I'll go. Joe Burrow. Joe Shiesty came out.
Like 18 straight completions.
And just looked, like I said earlier in the episode, looked like a guy who deserves $55 million a year. Beat a very, very good Niners team. And yeah, maybe the Bengals are back. So we'll see.
For my legendary, I'm gonna go with Corey Seager.
That
What a
was
moment!
so awesome.
What a moment for him.
We didn't talk
and
about
Adolis
Garcia, the walk-off, but
So what a moment for them. That's
most
legendary.
RBIs in postseason history.
Yeah.
Adolis Garcia.
What a moment for those two. Just great game one. So that was a legendary moment this week for sure. In shambles, I'm gonna go with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Bad. I know everyone was sick. But
Yeah.
bad.
Just a bad loss. Patrick Mahomes has the flu. I don't think it matters if he can play. Then I expect him to be 100%.
Right.
And he wasn't. This is a Broncos defense that gave up 70 points, right, to the Dolphins. This is a Broncos defense that let Justin Fields throw for 300 yards, 4 tugs, and the Chiefs scored 9 points. And then to make it even worse, Taylor Swift playing as a walk off the field.
Yeah,
So
that was bad.
Kansas City Chiefs.
I was on TikTok and they were talking about some guy was betting on Travis Kelce and they found out that she wasn't going to be at the game, so they took his under. And sure enough, it smacks, right?
Awesome.
So maybe that Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift thing is legit. But for my shambles, we talked about it earlier. I put them in my top 10 for college football, North Carolina. And then next thing you know, they've lost 3 in a row.
Really bad.
And I tell you what, when you look at the ACC, it can't happen in this schedule, right? Because you talk about Michigan's schedule, how it sucks, right? That's just because of the Big Ten. You've got your couple good, and then you're really bad. That's how the ACC is.
Everyone bad.
But it's more so just 2 teams good, everyone
Who's
bad.
the other team that's good?
I mean, Clemson's still good.
Louisville, bro.
Louisville's good. Duke is
Clemson
okay.
is not good.
Clemson is a team that can beat anybody. That's what I'm saying.
It can't beat NC State. And we're going to go right into my shambles, which is Clemson. Losing back-to-back games, losing at NC State, and at Miami.
I love the NC
it's just-
State coaches at the press conference.
Yeah,
He was
they were talking their stuff.
talking that.
But again, Dabo is going to really have to look in the mirror. I would never question two-time national championship coach, but you got to think they're going to dip into the portal and get some of that talent.
Yeah.
And it's just new age college football. It just is what it is now.
Yeah.
So you either get on or you fall behind. And right now they're really falling behind.
But go to the Clemson point and we'll talk about it in the next episode. As a Notre Dame fan, I'm nervous to go play Clemson.
yeah, going into Death Valley is still scary, but are they an elite team? No.
No. Well, elite talent, yes. That's the end of that point.
Yeah. Now we're going to do something a little different. Shout out to Mela gave us this idea. You guys, this is our 21st episode, and we have over 83 videos on the channel so far. So we wanted to give you guys more insight onto how we fell in love with sports, and we're going to give you guys the moment that made us all fall in love with sports. So James, you can go first.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, like, sports was just in the house, right? My dad was a coach, my mom played, so we were all, like, in sports. But there's one, like, series, so it's not even a game, it's a series. I'm sure Johnny remembers it vividly, but this was hockey, okay? 2014.
Wow, that's late. Yeah,
2015. I'm just saying, yes, I was watching the Cubs way before I was going to Cubs game, but this was the one thing
I thought I was
where
going to get some 4-year-old James.
you weren't. You can. I can tell you those stories too, but this was the one series where I was like, holy cow, like sports. Because here's the thing, growing up, we didn't get to see championships won. You know what I mean? Like, the Cubs were always bad.
Yeah.
Like, the Blackhawks were the best team really to watch in our lifetime. The Bears had a couple good seasons, but the 2014-2015 Stanley Cup Finals, the Chicago Blackhawks defeated the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Lightning were up 2-1 in the series.
They were.
And they lost
Patrick Kane had like 23 points in the series. Duncan Keith, in the playoffs, sorry. Duncan Keith won MVP. Tyler Johnson was on the Lightning.
Yeah. He was part of the triplets line with.
He's a dog.
Now he leads the Blackhawks in goals.
Correct. So the 2014-2015 Stanley Cup Finals was kind of what made me realize that sports are so big.
Yeah.
And there's such a huge following, because when the Blackhawks won the parade, right, and I was like, I didn't go, but you could see it on TV, and I was like, dude, like, sports are like what makes some of these people go, and that's kind of how, like, that's not how we are necessarily, but sports are always in the brain, and that's kind of
how we are.
It is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. All I do is think about sports and everything, but that was like the year, I don't know, I was 13, 14 years old, where I was like, you know what, sports are pretty dope. So that was for me.
So for me, I'm kind of the same way. I can remember, like, when I was 3, the Bears played the Colts in the Super Bowl. I remember my dad wearing a Brian Urlacher jersey, orange one, and like I was young, but I remember that vividly. I and I started watching the Cubs. Like, I watched my dad in the garage, 4 or 5 years old. I remember Tony Campana, all those old journeymen on the Cubs when they sucked, but. For me, I would say there were two moments for me that really made me fall in love. First one, it was back when, like, Robbie Hummel was at Purdue. He actually was hurt this year, but they played Michigan State in a big game. College Game Day was there, and Purdue just dominated. I was there at Mackey. I think it was like 2011. I would have been 8 years old. So that one really got me into, like, basketball. When I was already in baseball before that, but for me, to cap it all off, like, where I'm like, I really love sports, is definitely the 2015 and 2016 Cubs.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only championship I've ever seen from any of my teams. Hopefully we have more coming.
Well, if you're a true Cubs fan, you can still watch videos from those seasons and get the chills.
Yes.
Like,
I still
it's
watch
all
them
we got, man. It's all we got.
I still watch them all the time. But yeah, that Cubs team, that was the height of it all. I remember everything from that whole 100%. October. Hopefully more championships coming soon. Hopefully this spring.
Coming soon. Chicago championships.
Yeah. For me, there's a lot of things. A lot of my relationships, a lot of my friendships were built off sports, and without some of these moments, I wouldn't be there. Like, for example, my abuela, she taught me how to play basketball, right? So we'd sit there and watch all kinds of sports. I remember every Friday night, I would lay down, we used to have these huge pillows that we'd have, and I'd put them right down in front of the TV, and I'd watch NBA on ESPN Friday night. And that was when Dwight Howard's on the Magic, and my abuela would be back there watching too, and so that's one of the memories. But the first memory that came to mind with this is the 2008, technically 2009 National Championship. My dad and I, we drove down to Miami. Florida played Oklahoma, and I vividly remember the jump pass that Tim Tebow threw to David Nelson. And I was sitting, my back was against a wall. We were in the second deck, and I just remember my dad freaking out, and it's just one of the moments where it's like, okay, I mean, this means something to people.
Yeah.
You know, this means something to my family. And, you know, my dad went to Florida, my mom went to Florida State. They like to say they met in the off season. But, and for my next one, I remember watching, it was the second of the Kobe two-peat. So the 2010 NBA Finals were Game 7 of the Celtics and Lakers. I remember I cried because the Celtics lost. Don't know why. I just liked Rondo.
That's fair.
And I started crying when they lost Game 7, and I was like, okay, you know, you guys would kind of see later on, like, I know a lot of random stuff about the NBA, and it's people think it's weird, but you know, kind of based on that. And then a lot of people don't know this, but my family had season tickets to the Rays for a little bit, and before the Longo 162 walk-off, the Rays needed to win the next game before that. And Matt Joyce hit a home run to put them on top to beat the Yankees. And I remember that. And then the year either before or after that, I don't remember, we were sitting there after the Rays clinched the playoff, and they all came out with their champagne and they sprayed it on the fans.
Yeah.
So it's just those kind of moments in different sports. And then same with James, that 2014-2015 hockey team, the Lightning team, that made the run to Stanley Cup. They had the triple line with Kucherov, Palat, and Tyler Johnson. And it's just like, okay, I don't know what this is. I've never been cold before in my entire life. Like, this is awesome. But, people can get up and say sports only means so much, sports only means whatever that. Sports for me are the reason why I have most of my friendships, reason my family has so many memories. And, there's only so much you can really think, without
Well, it's family. Like, you brought up your dad, you brought up your family.
Yeah.
Like, for me, it's the same way. Like, when the Cubs won the World Series, you can see me. I'm a big dude, right? I've always been a pretty big dude. My dad, when the Cubs won the World Series, bear hugged me and picked me up, and I almost hit my head on the ceiling because, as Cubs fans, there's been generations that didn't get to watch the Cubs. Like, some fathers and sons never got to watch the Cubs win the World Series. So that was a huge moment. But yeah, sports are, whether it's just an individual thing or a family thing, man, it brings you all together, man.
It's awesome. And, you remember I would lay down and watch the NBA on ESPN, and I would go do those same moves the next day in my rec league game.
Heck yeah.
And
probably just like it, too.
I was better than freaking 07 Kobe. And, it's just the little things that, even when I asked that question, I was like, I haven't thought about that.
So hard to, and it's hard to pick one.
There's so many.
But it's weird because I haven't thought of those moments in 4 or 5 years, especially the basketball. I was like, man, every single Friday.
Take it for granted.
And it's like, man, that's why I love basketball. That's why I love sports. But
you know what going through this made me realize is how bad my football teams are every year.
We were having a nice moment, and then
Purdue sucks.
I've had some good moments in basketball with my basketball teams. I've had some
you should have been
really
a Colts
good
fan.
moments with baseball.
You should have been a Colts fan.
Man, the Bears and Purdue football just how do I do it?
It's you. That's
You've never had to watch a 30-30 season, though, from freaking Jameis.
Yeah.
fair enough.
But,
fair enough. But yeah.
We had Jay Cutler. He's pretty close.
Shout out to Mayo for the idea.
Yeah, Jay Cutler took you to the NFC Championship.
Yeah, he did. I remember that.
Shout out to Mayo. Shout out to all you guys for making it this far if you watched it. Again, 82% of you guys are not subscribed.
Yeah.
So lock in on that. Join our journey as we continue to grow.
Yeah.
I told me I was doing the stats. We have over 86,000 views on 83 videos. So
That's a lot of eyeballs.
Yeah, with the shorts, with the long-term videos, with our Instagram, TikTok. Yeah, just thank you guys for the support. We're gonna keep
Big
being
things
here
coming.
next week. Yeah, big things coming. Might be a real special guest on next episode or a few episodes to come. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys on Friday.
See ya. Peace.